What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Today's episode is brought to you, as always, by Off the Record. We love Off the Record, and you should too, because they are here for you. I just had to recommend Off the Record to somebody on the Smoky 600. First time ever on a road and track event, someone got a ticket on the Dragon, of all places. And so I said, yeah, we got to call Off the Record. What they're going to do is they are going to fight that ticket on your behalf. All you have to do is go to offtherecord.com/TST or TST pod on the Off the Record app. That'll get you 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. There is no extra work. All you have to do is make an account, use the code or our link, and send a photo or a scan of that ticket along with writing a brief description of what happened in your own words. Off the Record then will fight that ticket on your behalf, and if they don't get the points off your record, you don't have to pay. It's that simple. You don't want to have points on your record. It makes your life annoying and possibly more expensive and inconvenient. So get Off the Record. Go to offtherecord.com/TST or use code TSTPOD, TSTPOD on the Off the Record app. Get 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. Don't plead guilty. Get Off the Record. Let's do a show. Today's episode is me and Zack in studio, chilling. Zack went on the Aston Martin Vantage launch and tells us all about it, plus his review of the Seville Hamon is widely anticipated. I went on the Smoky 600 for road and track, did 1,400 miles in the Bentley V8S. Plus, we've got a lot of great questions. I give an update on my new kitten, Monty, and a whole lot more about things we saw on the internet this week while we were gone. Plus, bad local comedy as a bonus. Let's do a show. Hey, everybody. If you're on the audio side today, I might sound like a little bit muffled. If you're on the video side today, you can see I'm wearing a mask. I feel a little under the weather, and I don't want to get Zack sick. That's what a considerate friend does. And so if the sight of me wearing a mask fucking triggers you, eat a dick. I don't care. This is how we don't get each other sick. I just got back from the Smoky 600 road and track rally. I also might not be sick. I might just be fucking wrecked from 1,400 miles of driving and lots of flying and lots of bourbon drinking and late nights.
Yeah.
So you could easily be any of those things. Zack just got back from the V8 Vantage. Just the Vantage.
Just the Vantage.
Just the Vantage launch in France at the same racetrack I spent most of fucking March at.
Yeah.
Monte Blanco circuit.
Good
Not
place.
bad.
No, that's a good circuit.
Not bad. And when you find out how little money it costs to rent that place, I mean, it's like fucking super cheap.
Really?
Yeah.
That's why they're all
cheap.
going there? It also has amazing roads near it. Like,
oh, yes.
Fantastic.
You probably did the exact same drive route that we did from Seville. There's like the route, was it north? Was it just like a northern horseshoe?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, just, and there was like nobody on it for no fucking
Two
reason?
cyclists, 0 cars, ever.
Did you go past the ginormous rock quarry?
Well, we just did an out and back because we didn't have that much time.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, there was a drive loop, but we wanted to save time. So it was already so good.
Yeah.
That we didn't need to go around the rest of it.
The best part of that loop was the part closest to the track, but like the loop that we did with Porsche was unbelievable. I couldn't believe nobody was on it. Like, Seville is a wonderful city that has garbage car culture. Like, there were like, what's going on? You all right there?
Someone just asked to turn you up a little.
Oh, because, it turns out masks make me a little quieter. Sorry about that. There's, like, no car culture in Seville, which, like, is fine. Not everywhere needs car culture. But with a track like that and roads like that right there, you'd think there was something.
Yeah. I didn't see... That's true. I don't think I saw anything cool.
I was in Seville for 5 days that month total, and I saw one air-cooled 911 and like a couple motorcycles, but the motorcycles were only being used for like commuting. I didn't see anything fun out on the good roads at all. Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We saw 2 cyclists, one of which who was like, gave us, kind of the, what are you doing here? 'Cause
Yeah.
the car is very loud, but otherwise it was fine.
So The reviews are out for that thing, so
Yep.
we can talk about
We
it,
can
right?
talk about it.
All right. So what's the deal?
Sorry, this thing's spinning.
Uh-oh.
Anyway.
We fucking up?
Nah, it's playing on YouTube, but not on Patreon when you click the link. So they'll figure it out.
Aston Vantage.
Aston Vantage. There are so many new things to this thing. So it's 85% new. And everyone's going to pay attention to the
I love when
horsepower.
they say that, but then the car doesn't really look that
It
different.
doesn't. And I was like, how come the back? And he was like, I know. You know, the engineer was like,
This
I know
car
it looks
has
the same.
10,000 parts, and 8 of them are body panels, and we didn't change the body panel. You know what
Well,
I
actually,
mean?
I think it's probably the other way, where it's 10,000 parts and only 5 are body panels.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
Like-
the fenders are different because the headlights go, along the fender now
Yeah.
instead of horizontal. The grille is 38% bigger, so everything in the front is bigger. The back, I asked, it looks the same.
Yeah.
And I think the ducktail and the lights probably carry over, and the exhaust thing. But he's like, no, the rear bumper is wider, and they had to
If you don't park them next to each other, you can't really tell.
yeah, but if you park them next to each other, you'll get in the wrong car for sure. That's my only. The only thing I don't really like about the design is still that back end with the the exhaust in the plastic hole.
It's busy.
It's really busy, and but
Especially
otherwise,
compared to the DB12, which is like mega clean.
that's really clean. And
Yeah.
I think the only separating factor between those cars really is if you need a back seat or an imitation
Which is
of a back
laughable
seat,
given the size
Totally.
of the DB12's back seat.
and then the shape, because this thing has only 14 less horsepower than the DB12. So
Yeah.
the same interior. It still it looks good, and handles even better.
It has
than
the
DB12.
DB12's interior?
Yeah, it has the center console. It
same
has the
shit?
rolly wheels.
Well, that's a
It
lot
has the
better
sa-
than it was.
It has the same vents,
Yeah.
the ones that you could see the plastic behind
Oh,
it.
yeah,
but,
those aren't great.
They're not, but in the coupe you don't see it as much. I think in the Volante, because we had the sun coming in, it made it literally highlighted that part.
Sure.
But new suspension, new E-diff, new transmission tuning, new drive shaft.
Well, one of the biggest
everything is
biggest downside of the Vantage before was that compared to the AMG GT, which had a similar powertrain, the Vantage was both busier on the inside, busier on the outside, and it didn't have the Mercedes fast shifting wet clutch gearbox. It had this sort of not great tuned ZF 8-speed, which in a vacuum it was fine. But if you'd ever driven an AMG GTC or GTR, you were like, oh, well, look how much better it could be.
Yeah.
Which, same thing, DBX. The regular DBX has the meh. The DBX 707 has the really good AMG gearbox, and it's a hugely different experience.
It's a shame they couldn't put the quick shifting wet clutch in this car.
Why can't
One of my
they?
only 2 complaints about this car, legitimately, were steering feel, which we'll get to, and the transmission. Even though the transmission is a new one, it's new hardware, it's ZF 8-speed.
It's the same as the DB12s?
Yeah, it's the upshift is fine, but the downshift is unpredictable. At best, there's a delay, and it's in the video. I pull the paddle, you watch the digital gauge move, but then you hear a second later the actual downshift.
Oh.
And then there were times in manual mode, in track mode, where I was downshifting. I had 3,000 RPM of ceiling, but it waited to have another 1,000.
I
And then there were
hate when they
times where
do
it did
that.
it when it only had 2,000.
I hate when they do that.
And I don't know what the limitations are.
This
of
is
an
why
automatic
people
gearbox,
buy
but,
Porsches.
Yeah.
If you have 1 RPM to spare, 1, not 1,000, 1, you get the gear.
If this had, because I totally agree with you, with the AMG GT, I thought it was a better looking car. The interior was way more modern and looked way more pleasing until they added the giant tablet. So it was better looking inside, and it was cheaper in some trim levels, and you got the same engine.
Yeah.
So now you get a fuck ton more horsepower than the last AMG GT. I know there's a new one coming out, but
Which is really funny because, when we drove the last Vantage, that wasn't a problem.
No, that
Power
was not a
was
problem.
not an issue.
Yeah.
But
I think
there's no problem that an extra 100 horsepower won't solve.
100, extra 128.
Yeah.
I think what they said in the presentation is they're trying to move up market a bit, and land between Ferrari and Mercedes Maserati.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's priced with the 911 Turbo. It's priced within $3,000 of a regular 911 Turbo. So of course, I am going to compare it to that in terms of steering and shifting because the 911 sets the standard for those things. And this does fall short, which is really disappointing because otherwise it rides great. It's loud as fuck, which it's much louder than the old Vantage I drove, the last Gen 1. Sounds good. The interior looks really nice. All those buttons and functions work well. There's a hard button for the lane keep assist.
Oh, good.
So you don't have to go into a menu.
Really?
Yeah.
How interesting. Did that get brought up?
No, I just got in and I looked down and I was like, huh, that's right. So I think, and then I looked up photos last night of the DB12 center stack and I saw some DB12s that had that button there. So I don't know if it's like the ones we drove were missing that function and it was buried in the menu or something. But I looked at this photo of DB12 center, the center stack, and it was right there. The
Volantes we were driving might have been European spec versus US spec. I don't know. I don't remember if that car was a Euro car or a US car. Johnny's got a US DB12 right now. We should call him and ask him if it's got it.
We should ask. Just tell him to take a picture of the center thing.
Yeah.
It's what's great though is I think it's a great overall car again. I felt like the last one, the interior felt really old. The Mercedes UI felt old.
Oh yeah.
I thought the center design was bad in terms of usability and aesthetically.
Yeah, it was busy. Really busy. Busy to the point of being distracting.
Well, all the buttons look the same. They're all the same shape for most of them. It was like, the vents were really angular, but the outside's very round.
Oh, you couldn't point the vents the right way. The vents were angular, and they were positioned in a way that you couldn't physically, adjust them enough. Like, you couldn't change how they blew in a way, like they blew at my face and I couldn't move it down enough to blow it my chest.
Is that because the dash was angled up?
Yeah. It was a physical limitation of how they did that.
It was
weird.
The whole dash felt like
weird.
it was trying to look tough. It was it had these glaring, the vents looked like Jeep headlights. When people put the little eyelid on the Jeep, that's what they looked like. This is now a really good car all around. And in the Canyons, the transmission wasn't as big a deal because you're not going 10/10ths. And the steering rack is quick, it's linear, putting the car into place is good. It's just because I started at the track, that's where I noticed some of these problems and these deficiencies compared to the competition. But otherwise, I think it's a really, home run basically.
It's how much?
Starts at 194.
So 250 out the door. 240.
I mean, if you option it up, sure.
250, right?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But there are also a lot of people who will never take it to a track. And if you never go to a track, it's probably fine.
Yes. I think that's most people. I mean, that's most people with most cars.
Yeah.
Porsche probably, more Porsche owners probably go to a track than other, owners of other marks. But I bet the majority of 911 Turbo owners don't. At least not the first owner.
And there's also, I think you and I and lots of other people, but people that are very experienced drivers and very in tune with their cars, even on a Canyon or whatever, will find some of those limitations like the gearbox and stuff that other people won't find. Yes. I mean, I learn. Guys, got to take a quick break for Tinker. Tinker is supporting us this week. It's a new mobile app offering one-to-one live help for auto DIYers, letting them work with Tinker certified automotive experts instantly via a live video chat for quick answers for all car topics. It's like having a pro mechanic in your pocket for all those burning car questions. Whether you're a seasoned hobbyist with a weekend build or just trying to save some time and money doing auto repairs yourself, Tinker's got you covered. All the experts are vetted. The app is currently available for download on the Apple App Store. Tinker is amazing. I would never want to work on a car at all without someone looking over my shoulder, telling me what to do, what not to do, what not to touch. You can't trust me to do it, but with an expert watching me and saying, turn that screw, turn that wrench, and boy, that makes me a lot more confident to work on these cars. We're trying to fix Hannah's Nissan POW right now, and Tinker is helping me out the whole way. It's weird because it's a JDM car, but still, Simple car, 1 liter, 4-cylinder, and Tinker's got me covered, right? If you want to avoid going to the mechanic and getting a big bill when the aftermarket headlights you ordered aren't working, Tinker can shed some light under that. It's so helpful. So head over to the Apple App Store right now and download the Tinker app. It's like having a pro mechanic in your pocket. We're also brought to you today by AutoTempest. We love AutoTempest here at the Smoking Tire. They've been supporting us for a long time. Whenever you're looking for a car, the smart thing to do is cast a very wide net and check as many places as possible. But to do that individually is a big old waste of time. Not to mention everyone's trying to game, the Google algorithms. And so just searching for a car on Google or Bing or whatever, you're going to end up with a bunch of SpawnCon, not real listings. It's super annoying. That's what AutoTempest is for. It brings listings from all the top sites online, like Cars.com, TrueCar, eBay Motors, Carvana, and more, puts them all in one place and organizes them with one search. Rather than have to search a bunch of sites separately, the AutoTempest search is able to search all the sites faster than you could search just one. You can set your filters. It's very easy. It remembers what you were searching for the last time you come back. And AutoTempest even includes results from Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist nationwide, not just in your local area. AutoTempest has all the cars with one search. So head over to autotempest.com/tire now so they know we sent you. That's autotempest.com/tire and start searching for your next car. Whenever I lead these road and track events, I learn that I have been somewhat recalibrated, and a speed that I'm pretty good at finding the right pace where a driver that is experienced will follow me and not feel like we're going too slow, and a passenger in that car or another driver that's less experienced for the most part won't be like, this guy's a lunatic, and I happen to be able to drive that speed. But I can drive that speed brain dead with one hand.
Right.
You know what I mean? I drove the entire Smoky 600 literally one-handed because I have a radio in my other hand.
On this trip too?
I cannot, for the fucking life of me, remember to get a goddamn headset for these kinds of things.
I think I own one.
I gotta buy one, but I literally drove the entire thing one-handed, holding a radio. So my left arm is beat up, but it's like whatever. And I'm not saying I could fucking go win a GT3 race right now. It's not about that. But I could, if there's issues with the gearbox, you and I would figure them out on the street, whereas a lot of other people would only figure them out of the track because they're just not going as hard as we might go.
I thought about putting the line in, I think 85% of owners won't notice this stuff, but I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think most people won't.
It's probably true though.
Yeah.
It's probably true.
I mean, it's like if you bought a 340i, plenty of people are really happy with ZF8 speed and other similar transmissions, as am I in most applications. It was only because of price and we're at a racetrack.
Yeah.
But
on most street driving situations, it's fine. It doesn't do what you want it to do 85% of the time. It's fine.
And again, it's the way they presented the car was almost taking a stand against the digitization of cars and the removal of the driver from the experience.
Yeah.
And like the last Vantage, something this one did really well is communicate grip in the back through the seat. It was really predictable, the right amount of lean. You could feel it lean on the tire in the back. You'd feel when it was going to step out and then control it, no problem. The new suspension software is really good. The damping is really good. It was just because they said that then you analyze and go, okay, well then how come the steering, which they go, it's a non-isolated, all these things. There's all these terminology and this quick rack and all this good stuff. You're it has all the good things. You're saying the right things.
Yeah. And then you go, have you ever driven a 911?
The steering feel was so strange. So do you remember the gentleman that led us around the STO launch, Joren?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So he was there.
Oh, yeah.
So he's doing content now.
I love that dude.
He's awesome.
Oh, he was there as a journalist?
He was there as Ginfluencer. No, he's doing content, and he's like,
good for him. I love that guy.
Really nice dude.
Yeah.
And we were in the same run group together, which we'll talk about. We obviously weren't like, I wasn't trying to race him. And we come back in after the first session, and we kind of like, buddy up. I'm like, what do you think? What do you think? And I said, I kept understeering, but I don't know why, because I couldn't feel it happen. I just started hearing tires, and he's like, yeah, same thing. So there was so little feeling being transmitted from the front tire to the wheel. Both of us were like overdriving the car, but it didn't feel like we were going too fast, for one. And two, because there was absolutely zero information from the front tires. We're both
weird.
turning, and all of a sudden you hear, "Rrr," and you're going, who's that? Like, what's happening behind me? I'm not aware of. Like, oh, that's me? Like,
What did
had
it have?
zero
Just like
idea.
regular P0s on it?
PS5s.
PS5S.
PS5.
A PSS5.
Bespoke PS5s.
Oh, that's
So I don't think
weird.
it's the tire. I don't think it's suspension. I think it's just, it's something. It's got to be something with the rack, or maybe it is something with the suspension geometry, because they
weird.
changed that with all the new stuff. But that was a bummer. And then it was one of the best events ever, though, because they trusted all the journalists. So they did 3 lead follow orientation laps.
Yeah.
And then they said, okay,
Enjoy
you have a 20-minute
yourself.
20-minute session. Come back in, swap, and we'll get 3 20-minute sessions.
That's a lot of track time.
Yeah.
And that track it's fantastic, but there's some nuance to it that if you really want to go quick, like the fact that I went there a couple years ago for RAGT, and then I got 2 press launches in a row there, I felt like a cheat code for the second
sure.
one. So, but you probably got as much driving on this one launch as I got as all 3 of those combined.
Well, they ran a shorter course, which was funny.
Oh, they didn't run full course?
They didn't run full course.
Okay.
Which I didn't really, for filming, I didn't care.
Sure,
The corners they gave
it doesn't
us
make
were
a
fun.
difference if you're actually. In fact, the short course is probably better for filming.
It was really great.
Yeah,
because
but-
I think I could do 4 laps in like a video.
Did you run full front straight, or did they chicane
Full front
it?
straight.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you hit in the front straight?
I hit like 150, but I had cameras mounted while doing in car, and I just didn't want to be the person that rips a camera off their own car and hits someone in the face.
The track staff, I don't know if they were the same for Aston as they were for Porsche. They seemed like locals to the track, the instructors and whatever. Were very, very paranoid about cameras coming off on track, and they made me use like a whole roll of gaffer tape
really?
over the suction cups, which was hilarious because when I came back from doing my laps, all the tape had blown off and the suction cup was still on. I was like, you guys thought this was a good safety
That's
measure.
really funny.
It's fucking gone.
I've also tried that safety measure before. We had no oversight on the suction
Maybe
stuff.
it was different people, yeah. It was funny. Most importantly, the Hamon.
Oh, the Hamon was good. Jack
Pretty-
from Savage Geese, who made a special appearance in the video, he took me for Hamon the first day I got
Did he
there.
take you to the place that we went? The Hamoneria, like Jorge Luis, whatever, in the food hall?
It was on a street, and there was just a shop that just had all the Hamon.
Yeah, yeah.
And he just took me and he's like, we're getting this one. They gave it to you in a paper cup.
Oh, okay, the cone. Yeah, the cone.
It was an
the
ice
cone.
cream Hamon cone, and it was delicious. And that was the appetizer for the
Unbelievable, right?
like 11-course dinner we had at Nobu after that. Which
Yeah.
was crazy.
The actual Nobu?
We stayed at the Nobu Hotel, which is inexpensive.
There's a Nobu hotel in Seville?
Yeah.
No
It's
way.
allegedly $200 a night.
Get the fuck out of here. Was it dope?
Yeah, that's very nice.
I-
It's like tucked in downtown.
Oh,
it's not
how
a palatial
interesting.
thing, so you
Yeah.
don't feel like you're removed from
How
the city. You
interesting.
just pop out, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's the hotel. Here we
We
go.
stayed at that hotel Eurostars, which is a dumbass name for hotel, but you can see it's the tallest building in southern Spain.
Oh, I stayed there during the Morocco trip.
Yeah, so there's
Yes.
one. So there's it's a very low city, and then this 140-story building.
Yeah.
it's so weird.
Yeah, it's brand new.
But what's great is when you're fucking wasted coming back from the bars in Seville, you're never gonna lose it.
Yeah.
you could see it from anywhere in the city.
Yeah.
and walk home was great.
Yeah, we walked home the last time I was there from when I was walking with Jack in the daytime. I'm looking around and I go, I've been on this street before.
Yeah.
But it was nighttime and I was drunk. I was like, holy shit, I was here in 2016.
Yeah.
That was weird.
But
Oh, and then last thing is it has a very good new traction control system, like 8-way adjustable, very similar to the AMG and the other ones. And it does all
the
the things.
DB12
It's like,
has that too. The DB12 has a multi-stage traction.
yeah, it's
control
like
system as
you want
well.
2 degrees slip, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5, and
yeah.
then go to full off. and that's pretty easy to find. And a funny thing was, I get back from the first session, and they go, "How was it?" And I go, like, it's pretty good. There's some things, but I was like, is there a setting on the gauges, because this is a crazy multimedia gauge with a new computer and all this shit, that can give me one big gear indicator? Because the gear indicator is as small font size as the TCS indicator on most cars.
It's like the odometer.
Yeah, it is.
Really?
And they go, there, and the head of PR, Kevin, very nice. He goes, there's not, but because everyone on this launch has complained about that exact thing, it's being worked on as we speak.
Okay. So the customer cars will have that.
Yeah. So because,
that's crazy.
Dude, it was so small.
That's
was hard.
crazy.
It was genuinely hard to see, even if you tried to look.
That's like an unbelievable oversight.
I agree.
They've got a fucking Formula One team. I
think they've gotten a lot of money injected, and I think they've done a really good job with that money. And I think, there's new computing power. They designed the whole UI themselves, and that's great. And it stands out, and it separates them from Mercedes, which I think is important. And I think we're just seeing where they ran out of time.
Yeah, but it's just crazy to me that nobody was like, hey, by the way.
Well, it's possible that people did, but they went, it'll be fine. Because the last time we drove a new Mercedes, remember, it had 8 different layouts for the gauges.
Yeah.
It was like, what universe do you want? There was one like Tron.
Yeah.
This had 2. I think that right there kind of explains the difference in
sure.
Your not your IT, your UI design team and the size of it for Mercedes versus Aston Martin.
Yeah.
But
that's just that's a no-brainer. A
and
clearly visible gear indicator for this thing you're supposed to be looking at when you're going really fast.
And it's supposed to be the driver's car, which in some regards it is, and in some it is not.
You need to be able to know what gear you're in without taking your eyes off the road. You need to be able to see it in your peripheral. I'm over here going through a corner, I still want to see a 3 there. You know?
Or I want a big number in between the gauges or whatever. Yeah, it was real smart.
When you have and as everyone knows, I'm pro Aston Martin emotionally. I want nothing more than Aston Martin to succeed. But when you have a fucking screen, you're not milling out a gauge anymore. It's a screen. You could do anything. There's not really an excuse for not doing that.
Yeah, it seems like that. And I had this problem with I think when I drove the Hummer, the indicator that tells you the speed limit where you are was the smallest thing on a screen that was 16 inches across. Why?
For some reason, the screen just says WTF enormously.
It's just there's a lot of information you didn't really need, and then
it's hidden behind the blue Lives Matter flag, Zach. It's on the blue stripe in the blue Lives Matter flag.
And the Ultium will be fixed soon, we promise. Line. Yeah.
I saw 3 EV Hummers yesterday.
No shit.
By far the most I have ever seen in one day.
I've seen one period since I did that review.
There's one in my neighborhood. Actually, a guy bought one in my neighborhood, and so I've seen that same one running around a couple of times. And for the first time ever, I saw more than one in a day yesterday, and it was 3 of them, which was you don't get used to them. Let me just say,
Yeah, well, not if you're only seeing 4 a year.
Yeah, no, they're fucking dumb.
Last note on Aston is my drifts were gentle because I'm very out of practice with that stuff.
Really?
So when I was behind Jordan,
that guy can slide.
He's doing huge Scandi flicks. He's going all the way to the right apron, then left, and then just hucks it. And I'm just seeing huge clouds of smoke. And I was just first of all, I thought we might get in trouble if we spun out. And Jack
turns out
that's not true.
No.
He's he walked in and he's like, I spun it, headed onto the front straight, trying to get the most angle, and then he just goes and gets a coffee, and no one says shit. And but I was like, really, we don't get.
You don't hit anything; they don't care.
I didn't. I didn't.
That's
know
a quality press launch.
It was
though.
It was a
bunch of track time
launch.
and a jamon. That's fucking,
with no oversight, as long as you didn't do anything dumb. It was excellent.
That is very nice. Yeah. I like that. While you were doing that, I was doing 1,400 miles in the Bentley V8S. Guys, got to take one more quick break from the show because we are brought to you today by DeleteMe. DeleteMe is a great idea, right? It basically helps you remove unwanted personal information online. And everyone that's listening right now has either been spammed, gotten robocalls, maybe you've been harassed by someone, maybe you've been scammed or an attempt at a scam. Our personal information is everywhere on the internet, making us very easy targets, but we can all protect ourselves and get peace of mind with DeleteMe. And if you've ever wondered how much of your personal data is out there, it's more than you think. Your name, your contact info, your social security number, home address, etc., etc. It's all being compiled by data brokers and openly sold online. So anyone at the web can get your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing, harassment, and most visibly, perhaps, spam phone calls. But you can protect your privacy with DeleteMe, right? DeleteMe finds and removes any personal information that you don't want online and makes sure it stays off. It's a subscription service that removes your personal information from the largest people search databases on the web, and in the process helps prevent potential ID theft, doxing, phishing, etc. All you got to do is sign up and provide DeleteMe with exactly what information you want deleted, and their experts take it from there. Then they'll send you regular personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. DeleteMe is not just a one-time service. It's always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. They do the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal info off the web. It is real good. Your personal profile is no longer just a commodity that is a data broker out there to sell. It's great. It's the best. Take control of your data. Keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe, now at a special discount for our listeners. Today, get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com. That's the website, joindeleteme.com/tire, and use promo code TIRE at checkout. The only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/tire and enter code TIRE at checkout. That's joindeleteme.com/tire, code TIRE. And now, let's go back to the show. Which, I mean, goddamn, if you're gonna, and by the way, speaking of which, the Road and Track events, since Zack has that up, we have 3 spaces left for the Arizona event in November. Only 3. And so if you actually want to come drive with me in Arizona this November, you better go to experiences.roadandtrack.com soon and sign up. That event will sell out. Smoky 600 was great. I thought it was going to be a shit show because the weather report was like massively fucked. I mean, it was literally, as I was flying to Atlanta to pick up the car, it was thunderstorms all week was the forecast. Fortunately, it only thunderstormed Tuesday, so we had a fucking downpour track day at NCM.
Whoa.
So, you know, bad news, good news, right? Bad news is nobody really wants to do a track day in the wet, obviously. Good news is, like, if you're in a car that's like a coupe, so much learning can be done at a wet track day. I mean, it's so hard to convince someone who's paid good money that a wet track day is actually a treat of some kind because they get scared and they want to go really fast and push their car and whatever. Me and the instructors were all like, wet track day, like, this is awesome. Like, it was really fun. The Bentley is amazing in the wet. We say this over and over. You want to go fast in the fucking rain, get an expensive British car. They do not fuck around with their wet weather dynamics. The Bentley was so good on the wet track day. And, you know, the V8S is my favorite version of that Bentley. It gets PDK. Which is amazing. It's the only car without a Porsche badge that has PDK gearbox. It's basically a Panamera Turbo S powertrain underneath there, and then it's a Bentley body and interior, which is like, that's a hell of a combination.
Yeah.
But like the, I will say that the programming of PDK is much more conservative. It doesn't do the thing Porsche does, where if you have 1 RPM to spare, it gives you the gear. You need a cushion, but because the thing is like a torque monster, you know, it's not set up for track work from a gearbox perspective. It's set up for like road work. So you're upshifting at 5.5, 6, not, 7. You're never really at the red line in that car. And so when you're driving it on a windy road, you're riding the wave of torque. You're not like, redlining. So I do wish it was a little more aggressive with its gearbox programming and gave you the gear more. But it's not. It's who's taking these things to racetracks? I mean, basically nobody.
Yeah.
But massage seats and I mean that color, that Morocco blue. I mean, unbelievable. What a great car. They gave me the car with 385 miles on it.
Oh my God! And how many days in was the track day?
The next day. Yeah.
What's the break-in period? I guess hopefully.
Well, fortunately, I drove from Atlanta to Bowling Green, which is like 5.5 hours. So it was like almost 400 miles. I fucking flew to Atlanta, got up at 6 a.m. No one's good. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying this was a long fucking day. Flew to Atlanta, got in the car. God bless them. They met me curbside. I walk outside, drive shop guys there, hands me the keys. I'm off. After a 4-hour flight, I immediately do a 5-hour nonstop drive in this car. Didn't stop once.
Jeez.
That's how fucking great the Bentley GT is. You can take a long-ass flight, get straight in it, no break, 5-hour drive. And when I got to fucking Bowling Green, straight to the gym. I wasn't even like, I need a rest. It was like espresso, gym. And like, that's how great that car is. You can just like crush miles in this thing.
Yeah, seats are amazing.
Seats are amazing. Massage seats, the whole shit. Thing was $368,000 and it wasn't even a 12. Like that's how many options were on this one. It's the only one I've ever seen with a glass roof. Had a full glass roof, which I've never seen on a Bentley GT before.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kick ass.
How much was it again?
$368.
Oh, okay.
It had $85,000 in options on it. Yeah. And the event was great. Really, really nice people. As usual, heavily populated with Porsches and Corvettes. That seems to be by far the most popular type of car for this. There was one Ferrari 296, and almost everything else was a Porsche or a Corvette. One guy brought an IS 500. That's a good choice.
Wow. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That sounds good.
He was a Lexus salesman, and that was his fucking demo.
Cool.
And he brought it on this event. I was like, boss.
Wow, so no one bought those. If he's got a demo still.
Yeah, I guess not. But the roads were great. I really like Lexington, Kentucky. Lexington is such an interesting place. It is like, when you think Kentucky, you don't think queer people. You don't think like progressive. But Lexington is hyper progressive, hyper welcoming to immigrants. There's like all these signs and all these businesses like immigrants are welcome here. There's so many pride flags everywhere. Wow. I went to a coffee shop. Like I walked to like from our hotel. I stayed in a brand new hotel called the Manchester that was fucking awesome. And I walked to this coffee shop that I think was called something really innocuous, called like Java Jukebox or some shit like that. And it was like a 15-minute walk. I walked through this very old neighborhood with these Victorian houses. Great. I get in there. It's like 9 in the morning. It's run by drag queens. Fucking glammed out drag queens.
Wow, at 9 a.m. too.
9 a.m. The place is like blasting the fucking buzzcocks at like 110 decibels out of like a Marshall stack. And then there's like a cowboy in there, full on fucking cowboy, negotiating with the drag queens about having an open mic country and western event like the following week. I was like, where the fuck am I? This shit is crazy.
That's amazing.
I texted Dan like, dude, you got to come over here and see. This is fucking nuts, whatever's going on over here. And it was just
By the way, if anyone's listening, one of the funniest comedy shows you will ever go to is just go to any drag show.
Any drag night?
Any like nighttime like drag show.
Yeah.
They're hilarious.
I went 2 nights ago, Hannah and I went to the worst comedy night you ever, I'll tell you about in a second. But it wasn't drag. It was very much not drag and very terrible. But dude, and I found out that I have a style. I didn't know this. I needed a pair of pants. I didn't pack enough pants, as it turns out. So I'm searching for menswear, whatever, and I find like a menswear place. And I go there, and again, Kentucky, and this is the week after the Kentucky Derby. Turns out, Derby chic, everything works on me.
Oh, really?
So Derby, like Kentucky Derby and Pebble Beach Concours Car Week, totally interchangeable. So I'm like fucking with the well, you're gonna get all women when you.
This is all men.
Yeah.
Very, very presumptive.
But like, dude, everything I tried on was great. I could have fucking.
Did you buy this hat?
I used restraint, but I could have easily blown 5Gs in this store, like without even thinking about it.
Wow.
I bought 2 shirts and a pair of pants, but I have a list of brands now that I need to be buying.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is very. The colors are you.
But Lexington's great. Knoxville, great town. Tail of the Dragon, they just repaved. It is very nice.
It wasn't even. The pavement wasn't even bad.
The pavement
wasn't
that bad, and now it's better.
Wow.
I always say it backwards. I pronounce it Cherahola, but it's Chorahala. It's Cherohala, not Cherahola, is how it is. It's like Cherokee.
Okay.
Cherahala. Skyway, fucking the best. So great.
Yeah. The tarmac there is so good.
It was so good.
And what color are the trees right now?
Everything's green. Everything's crazy green. It was really nice. But it was a great event. Really, really nice people. Had a great time. And if you do want to come drive with me in Arizona, go to experiences.roadandtrack.com and sign up now because this one will sell out probably in the next couple of weeks, honestly.
Wow.
Did you happen to see a couple things? One, Kitten's doing very well.
Good.
Kitten's good. All the cats are together. Finn is a little depressed. He's not happy about sharing his space so much. So we're giving lots of outdoor time.
Did you remind him that his cat size to house ratio is pretty good?
It's a cat per 1,000 square feet is maintained.
So, yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't realize that photo is Nikki. Finn is, I think, one click over maybe.
No, I was looking for that.
I've been giving Finn outside time. Supervised, of course. Outside time in the back. And so that makes him very happy.
How do you I mean, I guess you watch it, but if the cat then jumps on the fence and runs away, like
the fence is tall enough, he can't jump it. No, he can't jump it, and he can't get out the gates on either side. But even so, I still supervise. Yeah, he's just he's a little sad because the kitten is now sleeps in bed with us, and he doesn't like that. The bed was like his kingdom. And so...
See, look at this cat's face, though. He's like, I'm taking over.
He's so adorable. And we've been looking up snowshoe stuff. Snowshoes, like, really change color as they grow up. Like, he might grow up and turn into almost a completely different color.
Wow.
They keep their blue eyes for the most part, whereas other cats... You know, all kittens are born with blue eyes?
I did not know that.
All kittens are born with blue eyes, and their eyes change to their adult color between weeks, like, 7 and 12.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, Monty's 10 or 11 weeks right now, but snowshoes and a couple other breeds tend to keep their blue eyes.
Okay.
So he'll probably keep his blue eyes, but snowshoes, they call it toasting, where they go from white to like a coconut-ish color, and then sometimes they turn into like a tan. Yeah,
That's
it's like
funny.
they call it toasting. So there's like the snowshoe like Reddit, like subreddit, is a bunch of threads on like kitten and then adult, and sometimes they don't look like the same cat at all.
Dude, my best friend from Santa Cruz, I saw a picture. We became friends when I was 10, and I saw a photo when he was 4. I saw a photo of a kid with bright blonde hair, and I said, "Who's that?" And Eric was like, "That's me." I was like, "But you have hair color that's my color."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I was a towhead as a kid," and my brain was like, "What is this? I don't even know what this is."
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
It's like bright, like Aryan blonde hair.
Weird.
And now his hair color looks like this.
Weird.
So, it happens. Maybe he's part cat.
Maybe it's part snowshoe. Did you see 2 funny things I saw on the internet? One is Lewis Black roasting the Cybertruck. It was hilarious.
I watched part of it. Yeah.
He said it looks like an inbred DeLorean.
That was the best joke
which
of
is
that
the best
bit, yeah.
joke of the whole bit.
Yeah, it was.
Did you see Misha Sharudin ripping the Ioniq 5N on the Nürburgring and having a great time and flying?
And chasing another Ioniq 5N
Yeah.
that I imagine was driven by like a Hyundai engineer or something because
Probably.
it was going hard.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't catching it or wasn't, not quickly.
That's a video where I watched
Yeah.
that, and you can see, like, if you didn't know that was an electric car, like, you just wouldn't know. Like, it's making sounds and changing gears, and fucking Misha's having a grand old time. I don't watch a lot of videos on the internet because I don't have a lot of time, but when I saw him fucking sending that thing on the Nürburgring, I was like, oh, yes. And he said he did two laps flat. Yeah, there it is. And he's fucking mobbing and like laughing his face off doing this.
I mean, and the car in front of him, the Ioniq 5N in front of him, is getting like gentle oversteer.
Yeah.
I mean, they're braking late, like they're driving hard, and he's going very fast, which is what he does. He must have. I mean, I started following him, I think, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
When he was already like an instructor, rent-a-racer person there, and now he's just doing this like every day.
Yeah. But they're ripping this thing.
240, yeah, that's
So the Ioniq 5N is sitting in my house right now. So we have it this week.
awesome.
So you will get to drive it.
Really impressive battery thermal management. I mean,
Super
like
impressive. You
said,
can see on the gauge cluster in there, the
Battery
top
temp.
left is battery temps and motor temps.
Yeah.
The 54 Celsius, 67 Celsius. And I did, 7-8 laps consecutive of Laguna without coming in, and they didn't go up. They stayed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And the fact that it'll run, like you said, more than one lap of the Nürburgring.
He said, Mission says right there, 2 full laps back to back without power or brake loss. Like, that's good.
That's really impressive.
And like your body is tired if you do 2 laps flat without coming in, even if the car can handle it, your body is sweating.
Yeah, you're a good time in that car on the ring would be like 7 to 8 minutes.
Probably, yeah.
And that's really flying as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Like you're going to be kind of drained.
Yeah. So that's a video worth watching. We just showed the clip on Instagram, but it is up on the YouTube. Hannah and I went to some local comedy the other night. I haven't been to like local comedy in a while.
What day is this? Monday? Oh, so you went Sunday. Okay.
It was Saturday.
Okay.
But it was depressing. It was so bad. The quiet moments were so quiet. There was like 10 people in the audience.
It's the worst feeling.
It's so tough. And man, it's like I absolutely respect people trying, and you got to start somewhere, and you got to get up there and practice and work. But like, man, some of these comics were like laughing so hard at their own shit that was like not funny.
Oh, who's the comic that used to do that?
Jimmy Fallon did it all the time,
he did a lot. Was it? Never mind, I can't remember. What venue was it at?
it was like at like a little place in Playa Vista. Like that's why we went. We were like, oh, it's close. Like let's check it out. And the flyer makes it seem like it's like kind of a legit thing. Oof, rough.
Try again next week though. Like
Yeah.
It's just if it's a small place, then and people they're working stuff out. I guess I don't know.
It was legitimately like 10 people in the audience.
Yeah,
it was
that's small.
And one of the comics got smashed after trying to do crowd work. They were, it was like the Mother's Day show, and there was one like 75-year-old guy in the audience who was by himself. It was all couples, like 4 couples or 5 couples, and then this one guy by himself. And this dude tried to do crowd work and asked this guy if he was married, and he said his wife had passed away. And then he asked if he was in a relationship, and he said his girlfriend had just passed away also. And the guy was like, I'm going to leave now. And the guy and the fucking audience guy goes, hey, man, bit of advice. I'm a lawyer. We never ask questions we don't know the answers to. And it was like, oh.
I mean, that's also that'll make crowd work very boring.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. It was a pretty hard slam.
Yeah, that's a hard slam. Yeah, and that stings.
It was tough.
Oof.
I want to go to the Patreon. We've got a whole bunch, but look what came in the mail.
The only response would have been like, "Ooh, 2 in a row, sir. Maybe you're the problem."
Yeah, right. Remember the crayon letters?
What?
The crayon letter about Donnie. We talked about it.
Yeah.
We said in the show talking about Donnie getting in trouble. Just because he might have done what they say he did, and the justice system, I hope, will sort that out. But that doesn't mean there aren't people trying to fuck with him and his associates. Right? And so I got that crayon letter that I showed you.
Yeah.
And so this came, and it's like a boomer postcard that says like, your upcoming gay men only cruise, blah, blah, blah.
Has been confirmed.
It's like a prank postcard.
Right.
From the same person. Same handwriting.
Misspelled your last name.
Misspelled my last name again. It's like the Jinx, misspelling Beverly. It's misspelled last name, and then it's blacked out on the bottom with a marker, and you can read it underneath, and it's like, you've been pranked by postcard. Get your own postcard at postcardpranks.com.
Yeah.
And the dude like markered it out.
That's a joke you buy at a fishing shop. Or
Yeah.
something.
This is like the boomerest garbage ever. But it's kind of...
There's no... Oh, you made the victim list. Good job.
Yeah. Because the
This is
last one
weird.
said, "Are you his next victim?"
Do we know any cops that can just run this for prints?
I mean, they're going to get a lot of my prints.
Yeah, I know. They'll sort that out. But then there'll be like U.S. Post Office people.
I don't think it's sent by a criminal. I think it's sent by like a raging, angry boomer.
I agree, but what a weird approach to try to get revenge on Donnie or get him prosecuted.
Like, what are you doing? Like,
if this person was involved in setting him up for the sting, then like, why even spend time on this?
I don't know.
You got your person.
Yeah, like I don't get it. And like you've sent a thing about being gay to someone in California. Like nobody will care less than the state of California if someone is going on a gay cruise.
I think most people under 45 won't care about this because they're like, oh, this is a bad joke.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, oh, wow, I got one. You know?
They'd be like, did I? Well, yeah, when I first saw it, I was
did you book
excited.
this?
I was like, I'm going on a gay cruise. Yeah, it's this is some like it's sent from Manchester, New Hampshire. Some real fucking boomer shit.
All right.
Yeah.
What a weird activity.
I know,
There's
right?
There's nothing to do up there, is
like
there?
how boring is Manchester? It's got to be crazy boring.
I guess so. It's
this
not
is what we're
antiquing
doing.
season. There's no leaf changing.
The leaves aren't changing yet.
That's really exciting for whoever's doing that.
Right?
Great job.
And like to put something in the mail, like, do you think there's like a rush? Do you think he's like fucking?
Yes.
Unless he puts it in the mailbox and watches it drop down the slot.
You know what this
and then
is?
he goes home and feverishly
This is
starts fucking cranking his tiny dick.
This is a this is a tangible version of anonymous internet commenter.
Right.
That's what this
Right.
is in our hand. And like many of the sometimes there are negative comments towards me or you that are like funny or constructive, and sometimes they just don't make any sense.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're just like, you're still here. There's someone who comments on every review we do now, and they just write Cybermat.
Oh yeah.
And they have multiple accounts.
Yeah.
And they think they're very clever. But like
Imagine spending the time on that.
to sign up for all the emails and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and like that's just it doesn't. It's not like a good
if we
joke. I
ever
don't know.
met that person in person, even if they didn't identify themselves,
What if we already have?
right, you would walk away from that encounter going, "What a disappointing individual."
It's
Your
just,
existence is disappointing.
like if someone's gonna throw shade, make it good. If someone
Right.
someone makes fun of me and it's a solid burn, even if it hurts to my core, I will give
Right.
respect.
This is untimed testing. You have all the time in the world
Yeah.
to come up with gold.
Yeah.
And this is what you've brought to the table.
right. Postcard.
Yeah. Fucking, and it says like, it's just, it's not actually that funny.
No, it's not. But they
And the
but
attempt,
they,
the attempt to black out the bottom is really sad. Like they didn't cut it off. They didn't like trim it off. They blacked it out with a marker. It's
What's so funny is they did that because they go, oh, I want him to think this is real.
Yeah.
As if you would read this and go, oh, I booked a gay cruise for myself. That's right. And this
Yeah.
is how this is how trips are confirmed these days.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know when
bye.
we book flights on Delta and they mail us a postcard? Same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Patreon. I'm sure there's a whole bunch in there. And of course, if you want to ask us questions on the show, patreon.com/the Smoking Tire Podcast. Also get the show in advance, watch the live stream, assuming it's working. Is it, Zach?
It is.
Okay. Get an ad-free listening experience, etc. Also, go to thesmokingtire.com and click on the merch tab, or go to thesmokingtireshop.com to get our latest merch. We are putting new stuff up there all the time.
Also, go watch my Aston Vantage review, even though I gave you most of the scoops.
When is it going up?
It's up.
Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Did you put up like right before you came over here?
Yeah, I published it like 5 a.m. this morning.
Oh, okay.
The embargo lifted yesterday at 4. But
Yeah, I
couldn't
looked yesterday
I
and then
couldn't do that.
but I didn't see it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. You put it up now. Okay, go watch that Zach's video. Daniel Arndt. Will the manual versions of the 2022 Vantage go up in value the same way the last manual Lambo and Ferraris have? Yes.
Of course.
They are very, very rare. We have one here at Westside.
I think they only made 200
They
in
made
2021.
so few and they fucking bailed on them, and they will be worth money.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They're rare enough that is the case. From your, okay. Ivan says, from your M3 versus M3 video, go watch that, everybody. Even with its heinous look, the new M3 still represents the brand, unlike AMG. Do you think other manufacturers like Alfa can take the sports sedan rivalry from Mercedes, or there's no good contender?
Well, they've been a contender for years since the Alpha Quad came out.
Yeah, well, they don't have anything new on the horizon.
Yeah, that's true. But
I mean, sedans are out. Chevy's just canceled the Malibu. That's the last sedan they have. Now, Ford and Chevy don't have a sedan anymore.
true.
Chrysler's killing the 300, so Chrysler's out. The Charger's on its fucking last legs.
Before it goes electric. Or,
Yeah.
Well, twin turbo inline six.
But, like, it's, Americans aren't buying sedans and don't want sedans. So
Yeah.
what is the motivation for any of these companies to lean into sedans?
I think the interesting question is how long will Europe hold on to sedans, because there are more and more crossovers there too. I think our country switched over earlier and quicker, but it may happen there. I mean, we see more and more and more of them there, just looking around parking lots and things.
Well, yeah, I mean, Europe didn't get into like SUVs because the roads are really small. But now that we've got like compact crossovers,
Right.
like the Mercedes GLB and the X1 and the Mini Countryman and stuff like that, like you see those in Europe.
Yeah, I wonder how the shift will take. But Mercedes did say that they're going to put the V8 back in the
Yeah.
C63.
Yeah, that didn't work out for them.
It
That
sure didn't.
four-cylinder.
So they may be in the fight for a little bit longer still.
Yeah. Joe says, explain to my friend that an $18,000 Macan S is the same car as a $38,000 Macan S. I mean, that's not true. I mean, probably not, unless someone's used car is either wildly overpriced or wildly underpriced.
I feel like one of them has been on fire.
Well, there's obviously going to be some differences. One might have 150,000 miles and one has 50,000 miles. I mean, that's a difference. It might be the same car if you go for a 5-minute drive, but it probably won't be the same ownership experience.
I think the question is condition, maintenance. Like miles don't matter if it was well maintained, but this is a price difference of 2, or a factor of 2.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant.
Yeah.
Like an $18,000 Macan S, that seems dangerously cheap.
That seems too cheap.
Right.
Yeah.
So it seems like a scam on Facebook, or it's going to be salvage title, broken, and feel weird.
Something
and need lots of
something has
maintenance.
gone wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, objectively, yeah, it'll have the same engine, the same gearbox, the same body style, probably. There might be some different options, but the Macan S has been the Turbo 6, the whole time. So other trims have like the 4-cylinder is new for the second gen Macan. The turbo's gone now; it's the same as the GTS. But like the S has been pretty consistent the whole way across in terms of like being pretty much the same car. But like, there's almost not. I think your friend is right, and those probably aren't the same car.
Like for reference, I looked up. So TrueCar has 241 used Macans for sales. This is in Los Angeles. The cheapest one is $15,000. But this person's car is only $3,000 above the cheapest one.
Okay. And tell me about the cheapest one.
I need to link to that. But here's one for $26,000 that has 100,000 miles on it, and it's a 2017, and it looks clean. The pictures are good, but that's 100,000 miles, and it's $10,000 more than what this person's looking at.
So now go up to the higher end of that. What does 35 to 40 get you in Macan land?
Here we go. Here's 42. 42 gets you a 2021.
Yeah.
That's pretty new.
So that's a lot newer. That's a second gen car instead of a first gen car.
Let me sort by where's this cheap one? Oh, the cheapest one they actually show is 26.
Yeah.
And it's white, and it is 2018, so it's 6 years old, and it's got 83,000 miles on the clock.
I mean, there's a difference.
Yeah.
There is a difference. They'll have the same engine, the same gearbox, the same general shape, but there's a difference. There are
a lot of cars for like $25,000 for a car that
I think
was 160.
Macans are expensive to maintain out of warranty. I think people are not looking for Porsche maintenance costs in a crossover.
Yeah. Good point.
So if you're willing to, you could drive Macans are very nice to drive. You can get into one, and if you're willing to spend a little more to maintain it, then you probably are going to get a nice car. Drives good. But I wouldn't buy the cheapest one out there. The upside doesn't. It's not like buying the cheapest 911, where it's a bitch to spend money on, but your driving experience is 911. Your driving experience is like a nicer crossover.
So Edmunds did a 2021 Macan cost to own analysis. The first year the maintenance was $240, but at year 5 they were spending $4,500 a year to maintain that car, and the ones we were just talking about are 7 years old. So
$4,500 a year.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That is a lot of money
to drive a Macan.
Yeah,
you could spend less than that to drive a 911.
Even year 2, it says they spent $3,700. They spent $3,000, $1,400. I mean, that seems like it went down for a little while. So maybe some things went wrong that were strange in year 2, 3, but. Year 5, that's
a lot.
Those are,
Okay. I mean, Sean has a watch question, and it's a bit complicated. My partner wants to get me a watch as an engagement gift to reciprocate for the ring. Congratulations, Sean. What are some special or unique watches under 40 millimeter and under $5,000?
Why don't you take this one? I'm going to take a break.
Grand Seiko is a way to get in there, particularly if you're willing to go used. You can get great Grand Seikos. Tudors have some great stuff under that price. Omega Speedmaster, you can get one used under that price point. I mean, at that price point, watches for the most part depreciate. So a $5,000 used watch is probably a $7,000 or $8,000 new watch, and particularly in today's market. So if you're willing to go, with those, I would say yes. You also mentioned RGM. RGM is a great unique watch, I don't have a lot under. I don't look for watches that are under 40 millimeters. They won't fit me, so I don't really know. I mean, Icopod. I love my Icopod Hemipod. That's a very special and unique watch that it says that it's 45 millimeters, but because of the shape of the case, it wears much smaller. And you might be able to get one of those for under $5,000. Those are super cool. But that's kind of all I've got right now. Okay. Go down, Zack. All right, Philip wants to replace a Mark 7 GTI with a comfortable daily, has good radar cruise, isn't slow, and eats up highway mileage because he does 4,000 to 6,000 miles a month. $30,000 to $35,000 budget. Job pays for maintenance and consumables within reason. Okay, so a hatchback for highway driving.
New SI, Civic
New
SI.
Civic SI?
Yeah, the radar cruise is good. I think the cars look really good. They're pretty fun, and they cruise.
Yeah, that's all right. I would maybe look at an Elantra N.
Yeah, that's more fun.
Yeah,
and faster. That's true.
Yeah, Elantra N I think would be fun. That's like $32,000 for one of those.
The Kona N was fun, but it's only an automatic.
Yeah,
and it's a little bit taller, but that was a surprisingly fun car.
Yeah.
GTI-ish.
30,000 is for new cars is not a ton, unfortunately, right now.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't get a Corolla. We had that. Remember that A-Spec?
The Corolla Sport. It wasn't terrible, but it was slow.
Yeah, it was.
The Corolla's good because
okay.
it has radar cruise with a manual transmission.
Very true.
That's hard to come by.
Yeah,
that's actually a less common thing than one might think.
Subaru has it now, but
Do they?
But the WRX we drove was $44,000.
Yeah, I mean Crosstrek.
Oh yeah,
it is kind of slow, but it's not like horribly slow.
That's true. I think unless I lived in a place with gnarly weather, I think I'd rather have the Civic. If it's primarily a commuter car and not like a weekend adventure car.
Can you get a CX-5? What does a CX-5 go for? CX-5s are pretty nice. I don't know what the new one.
Hey, they start at $29,000.
Yeah,
that is a nice car.
I might take a look at a CX-5.
Yeah,
that's gonna be real comfortable.
Yeah.
Or an Acura Integra, not the Type S, the other one, the A-Spec.
That was a really nice car.
Yeah, that's just like a slightly updone Civic Si.
But the stereo was amazing.
Yeah,
and I drove the one with the red interior. It looked way fancier.
Yeah, I might look at that too. I might take a look at that too. Greg's Garage says, "Is there a third TST watch planned?" Yes, a third and a fourth. We have 2 new colorways for the Nodus Canyon. I had to say, I'm wearing mine today. I wear different watches all the time, and I have never been stopped by random people on the street as much as when I'm wearing my Mint. We got stopped at the airport in Providence.
Yep.
I got stopped twice by randoms on the Smoky 600. I got stopped at the farmer's market yesterday. Nobody ever stops me to talk about a Rolex. Ever. Ever. Nobody gives a shit. Or really almost any other watch. Yeah. But people fucking stop and ask about these. And so I'm not going to tell you what colors they are just yet because I don't have the physical prototypes in hand. I only have digital renderings. I think they're going to be really cool. Just like the first round, one of the colors is a little more conservative and one of the colors is a little more aggressive. I think they're both really, really cool. And also...
So one is red and then one has the Punisher logo?
One has a blue stripe across it and and one has Trump's face right on it. Also, Larry Casilla of Ammo is doing a version of the Canyon that I can't quite talk about in more detail just yet, but it's the idea is that it's most watches are designed to protect themselves, meaning like protect the movement, protect, whatever. This watch is designed to protect anything it might come into contact with. Meaning if you want to wear it while working on a car, if you hit the paint, it won't, it's not a perfect system, but it's designed to resist that. So it's kind of an interesting thing they're doing.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
have you seen renderings of his watch? Rad.
It's cool.
Right.
Yeah, it's neat. It's gonna be different from ours. It's really interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. Scroll down. Ryan says, would you recommend any exotic car rental companies in Vegas? Nope.
Well, but that track drive you can do is fun.
Oh, that's different. Yes,
Yeah.
of course. You got Dream Racing at the Speedway. They're professionals. Their instructors are great. The
Track's pretty fun.
Cars are well maintained. So I would definitely recommend that.
Yes.
I can't imagine the companies renting cars on the street. They're almost always garbage.
It is one of the worst places to drive in the world.
Yeah.
It's stop and go traffic, and then it's expensive to park anywhere. And no one will give a shit. Like, you could pull up to the valet and be like, I'm in a Ferrari. People are going to think I'm cool. They're never going to see you again. They're not going to follow you through the hotel and wonder what you're doing. And it's just, that's always
Ryan does follow it up. Is a morning drive to the Valley of Fire worth it? I'm thinking of renting a manual Miata on Turo or a more expensive exotic rental to do that drive. I would say yes. If you have a morning to kill in Vegas, the Valley of Fire drive is fantastic. I've done it on multiple press launches. You can see it in the McLaren 750S video is Valley of Fire. The Nissan Z video is Valley of Fire. And it is a beautiful drive. It's really nice. Go early in the morning before people get out there.
It's a very open road, though, isn't it?
You can go really fast.
The problem with that, though, as we know, is some rental companies will have, like...
trackers.
Right.
Yeah.
So...
I probably would find something on Turo before... Because especially in Vegas, a lot of those exotic places, too, are hourly. They charge you by the hour. And so it's like kind of like, it might end up being like insanely expensive to do that in a GT3. So I wouldn't do it. I'd probably get something on Turo.
Quick tangent about Vegas traffic. I was there with Sarah, and there was a row of 12 Can-Ams that were coming from somewhere in the evening, and they're all blasting music. They all have flags, and they're all having a good time. But I had to get over into their lane to turn, so I had to get between two of them. And the Can-Am on behind has flashing yellow LEDs aimed backwards so that people could find it. So I'm sitting there going, am I epileptic? I haven't been, but I'm going to be in a minute. And I'm just like, this is brutal. Like, I can't look forward.
That's hilarious.
Sarah, being the brilliant person she is, she gets out and she goes up and just taps the driver on the shoulder. And she's like, hi, I have, my grandfather is in the car behind me and the lights are kind of hard in his eyes. Could you, and he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. And the guy's wife was like, happy that it was like this guy.
Turn him down,
This guy was disarmed because it was a woman.
And
she came back. The guy turned the lights off, and I was like, that was very smart.
Yeah,
because it was brutal.
I saw a guy on a Can-Am fucking doing Tail of the Dragon. You've never seen someone working so hard, Guy was fucking hanging off the side of this thing. It didn't look fun at all. It looked like he was working so hard to go so slow.
Stadium super trucks, man.
Yeah.
That's the best, some of the best racing out there right now.
Oh, wait. Can-Am, do you mean like a...
I mean,
like a side-by-side?
Sorry, I mean Can-Am side-by-side.
Oh, I meant the three-wheel
shit.
thing, the Can-Am Spider.
Oh, yeah, those don't look fun.
Yeah,
no, this
no.
was big off-road
okay.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Flannel Bob says, what's the most air you've ever caught while driving a vehicle?
Too little, sadly.
I jumped a Grand Marquis rented in South Florida over some railroad tracks, big. And I'm talking hang time, enough hang time to recognize and confirm with the co-driver that you are in the air.
Like, ooh, this was not a good idea.
Yeah, it was big. Bottom fucking blew it out at the bottom. Didn't blow it out like it didn't break anything permanently, but I hit fucking hard. Chassis on tarmac.
Throwing sparks.
One of those elevated train tracks. It was a
Yep.
gap jump. Woo!
I see so many videos of people doing that, and it always ends like it seems awesome, and then you realize there's no landing.
Right.
Because you're just coming down.
Well,
and
that's why
smashing
this
parts.
one was good because it was like a
step up?
tabletop.
Oh,
it was a yump and into a landing. So I did bottom it out, but I didn't flat land it like Stadium Super Trucks.
I think mine was riding with Dave at Rally Ready, like in a side by side, and we got big air while in a corner, like landing in a drift, and that was insane.
Oh, we got air at the firm. We
Yeah,
did.
we did. They had the tabletop, right?
They have an actual tabletop
fun.
that we. Yeah,
That's probably the most.
that was
real
probably
air.
like 2 feet air. Yeah, they have a proper tabletop there. Yeah. Sanjay says, I bought a Mazda RX-8 R3 and am struck by how old school the steering wheel is, thin rimmed with nice smooth leather. I love the feel compared to most modern fat wheels, especially with Alcantara. What car did you sell because you didn't like the steering wheel, and why didn't you like it? I did. I sold an Audi S4, a B6 Audi S4, which came with 2 different wheels. One of the wheels was the 3-spoke. I mean, it optional. There was an optional. There was the regular wheel.
Oh,
Not
here you go.
No. One was like the optional wheel that was the same as like the RS4, the 3-spoke, and then the other was this 4-spoke wheel that looked like a... It just wasn't great. Can you pull up a picture of a Audi B6 S4 interior, and I bet you will see both. So there's the good wheels.
Yeah, that's
right.
good.
That's the good wheel. That's the 3-spoker.
Oh, I love these so much.
Right. That's the great wheel. Now I didn't know you could just buy the fucking wheel and swap it. This would have saved me a lot of headaches.
What did you have? This?
Go down. No, that's the later one. That's the RS4 wheel. Keep going. That one in the center. That one. This bulbous,
4-spoke.
fucking garbage wheel.
That looks like a GM.
I hated it. That's the base A4 wheel. Now, I don't know why the sport wheel was optional, but I hated this wheel so much that I sold the whole car. Isn't that dumb?
Yeah, but hindsight is 20/20. That's funny.
Otherwise, the car was amazing. It was a great, great car.
And if I owned it, I also wouldn't think you can just swap a steering wheel.
No, I was not with like an airbag and shit. I didn't realize you could just like get the good wheel. Look at the difference between
perfect.
the two.
Yeah,
perfect.
it's great.
That's a perfect wheel. Nothing wrong with that 3-spoke wheel.
And now you know why the nice one was optional, because they want the money.
Yeah, and I would have fucking spent it. I would order that from the dealer if I knew that was a thing. Haley says, do you think veteran cars could serve as a cheaper and more approachable alternative for the automobile crack type cars? It seems like people ask for suggestions of the next stop in automotive escalation. What should I get to experience more rawness, sensation, or unfiltered motoring? The end of that line seems to be things like Ariel Adams, Porsche RS products, etc. But veteran moding seems to offer that same sort of rawness with far less experience or likelihood to get pulled over. Would it ever be something to consider? I mean, Haley's not wrong. If you want to engage with machinery, those old cars are a way to do it. And you don't have to necessarily go all the way to veteran. Like, you could get something from like the 30s, Model A, you know, or a Dodge Brothers or whatever the fuck. Cars from the 30s and early 40s are worth dick.
Yep.
And they're easy to work on. I mean, assuming you know how to work on cars, which I fucking don't, but
They don't require special tools mostly. It's
The
like
veteran cars,
4
they're
wrenches.
like making parts.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
parts
no.
don't exist. Where the fuck do you get a part for a Yale? They're literally making it. Whereas a part from a car for a a part for a Model A, you could buy that.
Yeah. I think she really nailed it. Like, because when we talk about engagement, we're talking about like paying attention to what you're doing. Your hands and feet are active.
Yeah.
They're feeling things. You know, you're having to like assess, especially with a veteran car. Like, we're assessing how it's running all the time.
Yeah.
That's also true with an old car, which can be fun or annoying depending on how far you need to go.
Right.
Ariel Adams and Porsches, that's like you're getting the adrenaline and the interaction with all of your hands and feet. You won't really get that from a slower car, but
Right.
I feel like you get honestly, like more playful experience. Like you're having fun. There's whimsy to it. People are smiling at you. So there's some overlap for sure in like the actual physical engagement,
Sure.
and then you just get like different emotions.
Veteran cars are an extreme, though. I mean, those are
Sure.
they're barely usable on modern roads. Whereas you could get something from the late 20s or early 30s that's really, really old still, but can sustain 40 or 50 miles an hour comfortably, and you could actually use it as more of like a car.
Yeah, and it could be a car of 30s, 40s, even into the 60s. People will smile at you in traffic. They'll like it, and you'll be paying attention, and you can interact with it. You might have to fix some things, which is rewarding if you're into that kind of thing.
Right.
Anything, I feel like, before fuel injection
Sure.
is going to give you a lot of that.
And there's also there's like old British roadsters. There's stuff like
a Sprite or an Austin Healey.
yeah, or late 50s Corvettes. It's stuff that, I mean, yes, a great one might be expensive, but like a driver grade 58 Corvette is not going to cost you a fortune. So I would say you don't need to go all the way to veteran cars to get that kind of vibe, but go old. Yeah, but it's probably something that you want to take it out knowing that you're probably going to make it to where you're going, Let's see. David's question. Any cars in particular which stand out in your memories for resetting the standards for how a sports car, luxury car, or SUV truck could be? I did a driver experience at the PECLA, Porsche Experience Center, and I drove a Cayman GTS, which reset my expectations of how much grip a street car could have. Any cars from over the years that stick out in that mind?
With cars, yeah. Sports car, luxury car, SUV.
Interesting question.
Well, how the Panamera you just drove with the crazy suspension.
With active ride?
So we talked about it with track stuff, but Jack was saying around town it was amazing how it rode, like the way it was able to just predict the bumps around it.
Yeah.
That feels like stuff like that feels like a level up in terms of luxury cars.
Yeah, driving the Taycan on the road with active ride was unbelievable. You can't go back from that. Once you experience that, you're like, oh, well, everything else just like sort of sucks. So there's that. There's.
I mean, I think for me, like Raptors or the ZR2,
Sure.
like driving trucks, I'd always associate trucks with work, hauling things, and like a certain pace of off-roading. And I'd watched, Dust to Glory and things, but I'd never experienced it. But when we actually drove the vehicles that have these crazy shocks and we can go 70 miles per hour
Right.
off-road in the dirt and, the body's not moving nearly as much as the wheel, like that's pretty game changer for me.
Yeah, when we went from the Ford Lightning to the Raptor, when companies abandon fast street trucks and focused on pre-runner style trucks, that was like, oh yeah, of course this is what trucks should be for.
Yeah.
Like, why are we trying to turn a truck into a sports car when we could lean into truck shit with it?
I forgot I jumped the ZR2 with the lead engineer in the right seat. So yeah, that was an experience for DSSV
I jumped a
shocks.
Raptor as well, but I don't think I got it as high as that Crown Vic in fucking in Florida. And I mean, yeah, there's stuff with I will say the Valkyrie. I didn't even drive it, but going for a ride with the Valkyrie AMR Pro, and getting a passenger lap at Laguna and doing a 118 as a passenger was terrifying. And that was so much faster than anything else I've ever been in, that it was that I just couldn't. I needed a cold towel and a drink of water, and I just couldn't believe that they were going to sell that to people because it seemed so far beyond what even a pretty good driver could handle. And so that one was really, from a sports car perspective, that was like, what are you guys even doing selling this to people? Like, this is so crazy.
To go back to transmissions, I think in 2011, you and I, we all went to one of those MPG events at, what was the track called in Fontana?
Auto Club.
Auto Club. And I was driving a new then 911 Carrera S, and Craig Stanton was riding right seat. And I got in to put it in manual mode. He's like, let's leave it in auto. I'm like, let's just, we'll show you what it does, because he was trying to highlight PDK.
Yeah.
And I remember just braking and watching it downshift the way I would downshift, and that was revelatory in terms of transmission control and also like the computing power and how it was able to read what we wanted to do.
Yeah. Mike says, what's the best stereo you've ever heard in a sub $60,000 car? Acura.
Oh, definitely.
Acura's ELS for sure.
Yeah, it was in the $29,000 Integra I drove.
Yeah,
and it sounded great.
Yeah, that's the best one. Yeah. Okay. Jadis, how often should I get my Seiko automatic serviced? Any issues keeping an automatic movement going for years at a time? You should get it serviced.
How often are you tracking it? That's really.
You should get it serviced when it stops working properly. No, seriously. A lot of people preventatively service their watch, and if you have a very old vintage watch or a family heirloom watch, then sure, okay. If the watch is no longer in production, hasn't been in production for a long time, or it's incredibly expensive, then yes, you could preventative service. But if you have a mass-produced watch, and I could be talking about a Seiko, I could be talking about a Rolex, don't service it preventatively. Service it when it stops working, because the preventative service will add up. If every 5 years and you're spending a couple $100 to service it, even if it stops running right and that one service to fix it costs a little bit more, it will not outweigh the amount you've spent preventatively servicing it. I don't preventative service my watches. When they stop working properly, then I have them serviced. So,
this is the last page.
Okay, Uber driver says, what's the least expensive and closest experience to a 911 ST you can get right now in a Porsche? Secondhand or building something in the configurator?
Boxster 25th Anniversary Edition, I think. Because I think because for me, the ST rides really well and is also very fun and exciting and looks really good. And
that's interesting.
The 25th Anniversary, I remember the ride on the street was good, but it was still a fun car. And it feels special, and it's got the good engine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say if you got a Boxster or Cayman GTS 4-liter and did a light flywheel and clutch maybe, and maybe the gears, light flywheel clutch and short gears.
That would be exciting.
That would get you pretty close.
Yeah, I thought they meant stock, but yeah, that would be pretty close.
Yeah.
What about the 911? Remember the Carrera T, the first
The
one?
naturally aspirated. No, they were all turbo. The 991 was a turbo.
But the first one that was small. Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's NA. No, that's not right. Never mind.
That was not NA. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you could probably won't have the steering. The problem, one of the reasons Porsche is so good is that you often can't replicate in the aftermarket what they've done to make these cars great. It has to be done factory level. No one's changing the steering ratio.
Right, because there's no rear steer.
Yeah, and there's no aftermarket componentry for that.
There might be a racing rack, but maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good point though, because they changed just enough that you can't really get.
You can't really do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say if you got a 718 GTS Cayman or Boxster 4.0, did a light flywheel and clutch and the gears, and ceramic brakes, you could get pretty close.
Now, why do you say that instead of a 911? Because they asked how to get close to a 911 ST.
Well, because the other 911s,
I'm just,
because he's at least expensive, so I'm not going to say a GT3 Touring
Right.
with recalibrated suspension, right?
Yeah.
And
all the other 911s are turbocharged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which is not the same thing.
Yeah.
And if you want a really light, naturally aspirated Porsche that also rides really well, you're in a 718.
Yeah.
So that's probably good.
That was a
I got a bunch of emails about other car logos on ecstasy pills. Speedy P put one up about the Mitsubishis. I remember the Mitsubishis, dude. I remember the Mitsubishis. But one person messaged me and said the pill reports results for Mercedes are 36 pages long. The Mercedes star is the record.
That makes sense. Someone sent me the Mitsubishi thing, and they said that remember the ads, like the club ads for the Eclipse?
Yeah.
Their theory was that those ads were developed because the club culture with Mitsubishi pressed ecstasy pills was so big.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, I like that. Paul says, what are some handling by Lotus cars that not everybody knows about? The weirdest one I've ever found, and it was so weird that I stole the handling by Lotus badges off it at a pick and pull in New Zealand, was the Isuzu Bighorn. The Isuzu Bighorn was the Japanese market Trooper. The Isuzu Trooper.
Okay.
The boxy one. That had a handling by Lotus badge on it, and I assure you, it still handled like dog shit.
They can only do so much. Here's
11 cars fine-tuned by Lotus. So obviously a bunch of Isuzus.
Piazza.
The Piazza, Corvette ZR1, yep, everyone knows. Dodge Spirit RT.
Wow.
Those actually drove pretty good. Like those were like fast at the time. Aston Vanquish, that's like mine, yep.
Oh, the lead engineer for Vantage started at Lotus, which makes sense.
Oh, that makes
That's why
sense.
it rides and handles well. Shout out to James.
Keep going. The Proton, yeah, whatever that is.
That's a cool looking car.
Looks like a Mazda.
14-year-old Zack would like that car.
The Rolls-Royce
Plug-in.
Phantom. Bulgari. What's Bulgari?
5
Like the
seats?
fucking jewelry brand?
What is that?
That's funky as hell.
1988.
1988, the Bulgari. Okay, weird.
That is bad.
Hyundai Genesis, yeah, not surprising. Volkswagen GX3 three-wheeler. And Sinclair C5, that's like a sidecar or some kind of like little cart thing.
Oh, it's like a 3-wheeled pod.
Oh, heinous.
That looks like one way
Spiker
to follow
C8, not surprising.
God, they're good looking.
Yep, that was great.
And now they're expensive.
Yep, probably could have called that.
Yeah.
I think we got one more, and then we are out. Two more. Oh, yeah.
Bad Gardener asks, I mentioned that I like NSXs. Now's my chance to get the Ayrton Senna car. Yeah, that'll be
that'll be
in my
affordable.
budget.
That will be affordable. Last one. Derek says, just got back from Saudi and spent a few hours at the Doha, Qatar airport, which was incredible. Any airports you don't mind a long layover at?
I mean, how 3 hours?
The one,
They don't really bother me in general.
the Delta Lounge at Heathrow when we flew back from Goodwood. We've talked about it a bunch. That was the best airport lounge that I've been in recently.
Yeah.
That had a sit-down restaurant with waiter service and everything. You just didn't have to pay for anything.
Yeah, that was wild.
That was great.
I mean, it's like if you have lounge access, it makes most layovers pretty chill, especially 3 hours isn't that bad.
But some are better than others. Like most
Absolutely,
domestic
for
American
sure.
lounges are not American Airlines. Like in the U.S., like most domestic lounges are like meh. Like the Delta LAX lounge is as good as it gets, and it's only okay. But like a lot of the international, like European hubs, the Middle Eastern ones. When we went to Dubai in 2015, and I was still smoking cigarettes, the Dubai lounge had a glass wall down the middle of it. It was mirrored on either side, exactly the same. Smoking, non-smoking, everything the same. And I just fucking puffed grits the fucking whole time waiting together. And you boarded the plane through the lounge.
What?
Yeah, in Dubai. So you didn't have to go back into the regular airport. You just went lounge. There was a door to the plane. And so I fucking put out my fucking cigarette 4 feet from the entrance to boarding the plane. Which
Like
if
in
you're
the tunnel? You get some.
like right at the entrance to the jetway.
Oh, okay.
There was an
Yeah.
ashtray next to the entrance to the jetway. So it was
Wow.
like scan ticket, cigarette out, in. And if you're a cigarette smoker, fucking nothing sounds better than that.
Well, I mean, you guys got to stock up on nicotine like a camel. before
Oh,
you do
for
this
that
journey.
kind of flight? Oh, yeah.
Recently at the lounge in Nice when I was flying out from Macan EV,
Yeah.
it was 9 a.m. We went to the lounge. Like the lunch food offerings were not great, but there was a pool table, a full-size pool table
That's all
with a
right.
bar cart next to it alone that had an ice bucket with fresh ice in it. And I don't know who they were expecting to hang out. I wanted to stay. I
Yeah.
wanted to just stay there and play pool for like 8 hours. But I thought they were like, you know what? It's 9 a.m. Someone's going to want to have like gin on the rocks.
Yeah. When I went to, just this past week when I flew to Atlanta, the Delta Lounge opens at 5 a.m. and my flight was at 6. So I got in there at 5, and fortunately I used one of my many first class upgrades. So I didn't have to board right away. I was in first class, like no problem. So I have a coffee and some of those egg bite things in the lounge, but I'm sitting next to where the bar is, and this one guy sits down in the bar with his wife, well dressed, looking like they're going off to a vacation or something, a lot of jewelry on. And he gets like pretty annoyed that they're not serving liquor at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the bartender was like, "I'm sorry, sir. Like California law says, we can't serve until 6 a.m. Like it's a law." And the guy was like, "This is bullshit." And I was like, "Dude, you're fucking really itching for this drink at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
is your night just ending? Like, what's going on here?"
Yeah, that sounds like that's a problem.
Yeah, probably. That vacation will be real fun.
Oh man, when we flew back from South Carolina. This guy gets on the plane next to Sarah and I, and he looks like he walks a little tipsy.
Yeah.
And he sits down, and then throughout, this was a 4.5-hour flight. We're all watching movies. He would wave his hands in front of Sarah and I to get our attention, and then because he was ordering double whiskeys with coffee,
Yeah.
and he'd be like, "You want something?" He's like, "Food?" And he goes, "I had a good month, man. I got you, bro." and he's like, "No." He's like, "Next month I'll be broke, but I'm good." And
I'm
like,
doing
I was
it,
like,
man.
"Thank you so much. It's so nice." Kept doing it over and over and over.
No,
again.
but then I remember this because when we landed, you heard the guy call his friend.
Called his friend. He's like, "I'll get a hotel suite." It was 11:30 p.m. He's like, "Come over. I want to see you." Like,
It was at 11 on like a Tuesday.
yeah,
Yeah.
My prediction is that is how the cocaine industry stays alive.
Yeah. This guy was fucking doing it.
He's having a great time. He's
All
very
right.
nice.
Thank you to our patrons for asking such good questions today. Thanks to everyone else. Make sure you go to the smokingtireshop.com or the merch tab on the smokingtire.com. Check out our newest merch, adding new stuff up there all the time. And do we have anything else to promote? Go watch Zack's Aston Martin video. It's up right now. And we'll see the rest of y'all's later this week. Bye.